the very nearly current show.
PopTeeVee.
Hi, Jack.
Hey, Fami.
Welcome back to the Fairly Current Show.
Thanks, it's such a privilege to be here, second time round.
Yeah.
How many people get called back?
So you the last time you were on, it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back then we had this kind of logo.
We did.
Yeah.
You did, rather.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we as in the proverbial PopTeeVee, we.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to this logo. And then soon we will be revealing our new logo, which is not here yet.
Okay, it's always good to imagine.
Yeah. So, Jack, it was about almost that time that you also started working on a website, which was a continuation of a website that you had started before the March 8, 2008 elections, which is called The Nut Graph now.
That's right.
Yeah. So 2 years on, there's a lot of water has passed under the bridge, Jay, and a lot of fish and a lot of stuff. So, what has been the kind of learning experience? What has that experience been like? Because you came from so-called, old media.
That's right. I came from the traditional media. I was a newspaper journalist for more than 10 years, and then we moved to the online media, and we started the Nut Graph in August of 2008, and it's been nearly 2 years now. It's been a huge learning curve. One of the biggest things we've learned is how expensive good journalism is, and how much is involved in producing good copy, thinking copy, journalism, a kind of journalism that's really critical, that interrogates what's happening instead of just merely reacting. Of course, we were kept busy because even after 2008, there were all kinds of political upheavals, from numerous by-elections to defections to state government falling. So it was a very intense learning period for us as journalists, and definitely for the business as well. Yeah.
And you mentioned, it's actually very expensive to keep up, to keep up, basically good writing. Yeah,
yes,
good journalism.
It is.
Why is that?
Primarily because I don't think journalists should be underpaid. I think that journalists play a really important function in society. I think that we need to be public intellectuals, and you cannot underpay public intellectuals because then what's the incentive for them to remain in journalism? And so the Nut Graph made sure that we paid people what was their fair due, but as a result, our overheads are quite high. And when our funding was terminated after the second year, our funding stopped in the second year of our operations, which was March of this year, then we had to really start looking for new funding. And it's turned out that it's really quite difficult to get new funding.
So how has the Nut Graph changed, like the business model and also the way that you're operating right now?
We looked at several different possibilities in terms of generating income, one of which was to start charging subscription. But we looked at the existing subscription-based models, and it is a real challenge, even for something like Malaysia Kini. It is a real challenge for them to just get their revenue solely from subscription. Online advertising is a real tough kettle of fish to handle because there's so much supply and so little demand. And so it's about having to develop different streams of income. And because one of the co-founders left, Cindy, who helped set up the Nut Graph, and she used to do business development, and it was really quite difficult to find a replacement. So I've not been able to single-handedly manage editorial as well as develop all these other different streams of income to make the Nut Graph sustainable. We have some project funding, but that's not enough for certain. Yeah.
Right. So, to use business parlance, going forward, Jack, going forward, what is the situation like? What are you going to do?
Well, we think that it's really important to keep the Nut Graph going because it's such an important platform. And I think that I have an incredible team of writers and thinkers who work with me. So what we're going to do is we're going to change form. We're going to go into Plan B. And Plan B basically means that the office gets shut down and we all start working from home. And everybody gets salaried elsewhere. So it will be run by a collective of writers and editors who believe in wanting to contribute to Malaysia using our writing. But the pressure on the company to raise money consistently to pay the salaries and overheads will be removed. So then we can just focus on writing really good critical stuff.
Then it becomes a matter of writing or being a journalist as a passionate pursuit.
That's right, yeah. without me primarily having to keep looking for new funds to sustain the Nut Graph. And there is enough commitment from the existing team to actually try Plan B. And if Plan B doesn't work, then we'll shop around for Plan C.
Yeah, see lah how.
Yeah, we'll see.
See lah how. There are a couple of like over the last 2 years, I think there are some very memorable how would you say, columns or parts of the Nut Graph, which I think has attracted a lot of attention. For example, Found in Malaysia, which has now been converted also kind of into Found in Conversation, as well as actually Found in Quotation. Yeah. So are there any plans to kind of make use or kind of monetize or work with this material?
Well, with Found in Malaysia, what we're doing is, it's in the pipeline right now. What we're doing is we're publishing 50 of the best interviews into a book, and we're hoping that that book can be launched, close enough to commemorate with our Independence Day. So that's definitely already in the pipeline. And who knows, if that book is successful, then there might be a part 2. And for certain, going forward, the Nut Graph will continue to run Found in Malaysia as a weekly offering to our readers. Yeah.
Jack, I wanted to throw a curveball. Yeah. Funding. Just say lah. Yeah. A political party comes up to you and say, we want to buy the Nut Graph. You work for us.
It won't happen lah. Not with this current team, and definitely I wouldn't be in the picture. Yeah. I think there's a real necessity for Malaysia to have independent media.
Why?
Why? So that we can report fearlessly and we can report things as it is without having some political master breathing down our necks. We did get offerings of money from politicians when we first found out that the funding was drying up. And our position was very clear. Our position was that we were journalists and we needed to be independent.
Independent journalists in Malaysia? Oh my God, what is that? So that
yeah, I mean, then we will be no different from any of the traditional media who are owned by political parties through their investment arms, right?
Yeah.
So how different is that? And I left that primarily so that I could be an independent journalist.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much, and I hope that we will get to see more of the Nut Graph in whatever shape and form.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Inshallah. Thank you.